Mr. Harshit, we are very excited to hear from you on Cloud Edge Continuum for Internet of Things. So without any further delay, thank you very much for being with us, and time is yours.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Membang. It's nice to meet you again now.
Okay.
Now, listeners, the today's session will be mainly based on the combination of cloud computing, edge computing, Internet of Things, and how we can make use of all these three important technologies in our modern digital world to make the processes, to make the manufacturing processes, automation and industrial processes means multiple things we can make easy, efficient, cost effective. So this is all based on such scenario. So now we will start with an important concept of cloud computing. So just like we have seen in our last session, the which was based on the Internet of Thing, how it is used, how sensors are used to collect the data, and how it is sent to the central server for further aggregation process, further operations on the data, further mining process. Now we will now begin from that point, like we have now data and we have to make operations on that. We have to perform some techniques, some methodology to extract out some useful informations from such collected data. But before doing all such things, we should know that we should have an idea about how such processes takes place. Like if we are going to make some machine learning model, making something automatic, and and for that we are very well know that it is mainly based on the data which is collected from everywhere. So how we will compute such a large data, how we will store such a large data, and how we can apply different methods on this data. So to have a proper knowledge about that, to have a proper understanding of that, we will get to know about the term cloud computing, which is a technology paradigm which involves delivering various computing services, and that includes storage, processing power, networking, database, and many more over the internet. And to this we know as a cloud. Why we say it as a cloud? We it is not very well defined everywhere that why we say every time it is a cloud, but we can assume it as like the cloud which is accessible to everyone. Everyone can see the cloud, so it is approachable. So that's why it is said to be that cloud consists of all kind of those functionality which can be used by anybody. So anybody have to put the same kind of effort to approach them to get the functionality of the cloud system. So why this term cloud computing came into the effect? Instead, we have our own personal systems, we have our own servers at our organizations. So it is very important to know that why we are using the term, why we are using cloud computing in the real world scenario. So it is if we see, like if some sensor is integrated anywhere and it is collecting data continuously, then we have to process it. Suppose the data collected by a sensor is a very large, means it is in a millions of data are there, and we want to process such data for any specific kind of application. So to process those data, to apply methods uh, on those data, there is a much need of large computation power, there is a much need of large storage power. And so to fulfill these requirements, it is very necessary that we should have all kind of such resources that could fulfill all large computation power, the large data storage power, large databases, etc. But if we see, there is not only a single organization who could be able to do this. There are multiple kind of organizations dealing who are dealing with such kind of issues of having large computation power, and for that they have to set up a large infrastructure, large data centers, large CPUs. There are multiple things are required at each and every organization for the proper functionality of their company or their organization, if it is a IT company or if it is any educational company, whatever it is. So a large infrastructure is very much required for this. So why not we should have a common channel where we just go, pay some amount and we use it, instead of making an entire infrastructure for this. So from this point of view, the cloud computing was emerged, and it has been now used widely in across the world in each organizations, from a little small to a large organization. They are using the cloud computing for their businesses, even for their personal use, because it has many benefits like scalability, cost effectiveness, cost efficiency, flexibility, etc. So here, if if you see here in this image, like there is a application, multiple applications, platform, infrastructure is given at a central point, and apart from this central point, application, platform, infrastructure, you can see servers, laptops, desktops, tablets, phones. Means all these laptops, phones, tablets, desktops are now used by user. So what they do, they just use these communication medium to access all the services given by the cloud as a application, as a platform, or as a infrastructure. So this picture clearly depict what cloud computing is and how it is used by different user. The user could be any organization or a person. So if we go further in more deep into the cloud computing, we may say it as a utility computing. Means the provider, the cloud computing service providers provide the service on rent basis. Means we have to just pay the rent for the computing service. What kind of services we are, whatever kind of services we are taking from the cloud, we have to pay them some amount of money as a computing service. So there are many different kinds of rule made by such computing services, cloud service providers. So they may charge per, on the basis of per month or per week or per size of the data, based on the size of the data, based on the time, how much time we are using that service. So there are different types of policies decided by these cloud service providers, which for which the user pay and use. In this regard, there is a very good example of Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud. It is a EC2 service of Amazon, which is provided by Amazon to anybody who wants to get some services of computing as a computing resource. Means we may hire this service to compute something. Like if we want to process some large data, then we may take this service from the Amazon, and for that we will pay. Like the estimated value is given here is $30 USD per month. This is not the actual value, but this kind of prices are provided by the Amazon for their multiple kind of services, which we can pay and buy. Also, by providing such services, the cloud service providers have made their infrastructure, their system very easier and scalable for the developers. Means we can just we can just take these services on rent and use in a very efficient manner. We do not require to do much kind of programming in that or much kind of effort to use those services. Instead, they provide a good GUI, good dashboard where we can simply go and use those services. So now, as we were talking about the computing services, the storage services, the cloud services are not limited to these things. Instead, it also provide us the way where we can host our applications for the public use. Means if you see a simple Amazon web service where we can deploy our websites, where we can deploy our applications, where we can deploy our softwares, so that anybody can go on that site or via some URL, or go to that app via some medium and use that service. So the best example of this is the Gmail. So the Gmail is also deployed on some clouds, some cloud where a user having a Gmail account simply goes and gives some his or her credentials and use the services, which includes the email services, Google Doc services, Google Slides services, Excel. There are multiple kind of services which can be used by the user by going through such cloud services. Now, we have so far we have known what the cloud computing is and how we can use this. But next we will get to know about that what is the importance of such cloud computing. So if we go about this importance perspective of cloud computing, we firstly find that it is a scalable. The cloud computing allows user to easily scale their computing resources up or down based on the demand, which is a very fantastic option of this cloud computing. Like, take an example of, suppose we have some kind of infrastructure where we are dealing with some kind of computation, but in case suppose we have computation which requires very less resources, but still we have a very big infrastructure, then just in that case we may not get some the benefit at that level which should be. Like if we are using if we suppose that we are using a hard disk of 1 terabyte, but we have the only requirement of 100 MB. So if we are using the 1 TB hard disk for just to store the 100 MB data, then it will not be very beneficial. So the cloud computing provides the a kind of solution to this issue, that you have to only pay how much you will use. You can scale up or scale down your requirements at any time. So this is the very good characteristics of this cloud computing, which reduces the upfront investment in the hardware in any organization or in any company. Next, it is cost efficient. Cost efficient means, like if we are switching to cloud computing oriented services instead of setting up the infrastructure in the company or in any organization, then we just reduce the capital expenditure, and which is shift to the operational expenditure of any company. Means, we, instead of investing so much on setting the hardware, setting the resources, we are just converting them into using some facilities provided by these cloud providers. So it is also the cost effective. Next is flexibility and mobility. So as we know that cloud computing is easily accessible from to anyone, but the only requirement is he or she should have a simply a internet. Means with the help of internet we can use each and every services provided by the cloud service provided. So it is flex, means we can use these services anytime from anywhere with a internet connection. So it also reduces the dependability on the personal infrastructure made by the made by any person or any organization. The best example of this is we can see that the Google Docs, Google Sheets, where we may write anything in the Google Doc, and we can access this Google Doc from anywhere. We have to just log in into our Gmail, and we may get the facility to access those contents which we have previously written. If we compare this thing with a Microsoft Word, which we earlier used for writing and storing the things, it is very much required that we should have that file to access to from anywhere, but that should be present in those computer where we are going to access it. But this is not but in the cloud computing it is not very much necessary. Similarly, it is rapid. There is a next is characteristics is rapid deployment. Means that the cloud computing enables the rapid deployment of applications and services. Any developer can use pre-configured template and automation to provision resource quickly. Means if we see like we nowadays what we think we see, like if we want to design any website, we get a pre-made templates on the web on the internet. We just download and deploy it. Similarly, there are multiple companies which offers to users through which they can create their websites only by just going to their websites, and they have to put all the details, and the website gets ready within a minute. So these kinds of functions, these kinds of advantages is possible only with the cloud computing. So next is the reliability and redundancy. So the leading cloud providers offers high level of reliability and redundancy. So like the Google Cloud Services, we know that. Amazon Web Services, we know very well. So there are multiple cloud service providers which makes their system, their entire infrastructure very secure, so that anybody can easily trust on their infrastructure and use that service. So nowadays whenever we want some kind of cloud application, we simply go to their Google service, go for the Google services or for the Amazon services, and we just take those services. And also, instead of making their infrastructure secure, they also makes multiple copies of their important application, their important data, which comprises the important information of the user which have hired that services. So in this way, if one copy or if at a one place something is destroyed, it is now accessible from the another place. So by achieving the redundancy, they also make their entire system very trustful and reliable. So this was the about cloud computing and their importance. Now we will go for some important models in the cloud computing which is available to each and everybody, and they can use any model of the cloud computing according to their need. So in this reference, we will see mainly four types of deployment models in cloud computing, which are public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, and community cloud. So the what public cloud is, it is public cloud services are offered by cloud service provider to general public over the internet. See, simply like Google Cloud Platform, Netflix, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, whatever the services are provided by them on any cloud service, it is known as a public cloud, because we can directly go to these services and we can access those services. So this kind of services which are available for the general public over the internet means we require only a system and internet, and we may use these kind of services anytime anywhere. So this is called the public cloud, means the services offered by the public cloud which is accessible by anybody. Now next to it we will see the private cloud. So private cloud, there are nowadays what is happening, that suppose somebody has set up a big multiple multinational company, and as the company requires that that the company should have a good infrastructure to manage the resources, to manage the data. The data may be corresponding to the employee of the company, the data may be corresponding to the some services provided by the company. So all of such things where data is required to be stored and processed, there is a much requirement of infrastructure which will provide the services of computation, the services of is storing the data or the database. But here what is happening, companies are now shifting towards the cloud computing concept, or they are not going to make any kind of infrastructure. Simply they are taking the service on a rent basis. They just pay the rent to the cloud service provider and use that service. But for a single organization, it is not public to anybody that he or she can use that services. The company simply puts a chunk of cloud service only for them, and they just used those services from the cloud service provided. So in this reference we may see the example of banks and financial institutions. So banks and financial institutions takes their private cloud services and use them. So next is the hybrid cloud. So hybrid cloud, it combines both public cloud and private cloud. So in this, the public and private both clouds are used, where if the services which is to be accessible by the anybody or any user, then those services are provided on the public cloud. But those services which are for the internal purpose of the company, which is for the private purpose of the company, that is in that case the private cloud is used. So if a company requires both kind of services, like the services provided by the public cloud services or the services obtained from the private cloud, then if we are using these two clouds or these two services together, then it is known as a hybrid cloud. So next is the community cloud. So community cloud means the services provided by the cloud which is used by a community. Means if there are multiple small companies and they all want some specific kind of services. So what does these companies do? They just take those services as a rent from these cloud services provided and use. Means a single services is used by multiple organizations. So when this kind of scenario happens, when this kind of setup is happened, then it is known as a community cloud. So this was the different deployment models in cloud computing. Now next we will go to the service models in the cloud computing, that is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. So what it is like what kind of different services is provided by the cloud service providers. Means if we are using cloud service, then what are those different kind of services we can get from this cloud service provider. So to make a clear distinction between these three kind of services, the services are now divided into the main three parts, that is infrastructure as a services, platform as a services, and software as a services. So what is this infrastructure services? It is the same as what I have told now you that we do not make any kind of infrastructure. Instead, we just hire, we just take these services as a rent. So it is the most basic cloud computing cloud service model, which provides virtual computing resources over the internet. So this is the infrastructure as a services. Here user have control over the operating system, applications and configuration within the virtual machines. Means if we want to make any operation, or we want to perform any operation on the data, for which some specific kind of operating system is required, for which some specific kind of is application is required, or different kind of configuration is required, then we will get all such requirements on the cloud. We may configure the operating system, the application, the configuration according to our need. Means we can get an entire computer system over the cloud according to our need. If we want that our system or should have a space RAM of 8 GB, or a space of 300 GB, so we can simply get it from the infrastructure as a service from the cloud service provider. So this includes the example includes the Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure virtual machines, and Google Compute Engines. So all these are the examples of the infrastructure as a services. So it is, we can assume that it is just like having a virtual computer with us, with our configuration, whatever configuration we want, whatever the application we want, whatever the operating system we want, whatever the hardware oriented applications we want, we will get uh, on the cloud service through this infrastructure as a service. Now next is the platform as a service. It is a higher level cloud service model that provides a platform and environment for developing, deploying and managing applications. So you may see, like now these days the many online compilers, or many application development environment, like for the applications like Android application or iOS application. Means for all such kind of things, we are having some multiple services on the cloud, where we can just go and simply we can use those services without installing without installing any software into our machine. We can directly go on those service providers, and we can use for our whatever the we have requirement. So for the developer, the platform as a services is a very good option, where they get each and every things according to their requirement, in corresponding to the whatever they are going to develop. And the last one in this services is services the software as a services. So this is the very highest level of cloud service model, but the very basic one. The basic one means nowadays whatever we are using on the internet, mainly we will see that all these are a kind of a software as a service. Like if we go for some doc to PDF converter, we go from some photo editor, we go for some audio mixture. It means multiple kind of services are now there, which is happening through some software. So all this which we are using is a software as a service, which we can also do in our system. Like if we want to use the some PDF merger or PDF converter, then we will download the Adobe Acrobat. If we want to do some the task of photo edit, then we will download some software and we may perform this. But now it is not very much required to just download and pay subscription fee for that. And also it also required the different configuration to run those software. So now all these are vanished. We may simply go through the website of that service provider, and we can use this. So it is the software as a service which we use. Now now we have seen what the cloud computing is, how it is used, what kind of deployment model are there, what kind of services are there. Now we will see the relation of this cloud with internet of things. See, whatever we have seen now, we can easily, if we think, then we can easily calculate how it is related with the cloud. But now here we will see that if there is some uh, sensor nodes which are associate which are integrated for some specific kind of applications, they just sense data, they store data and send to the cloud platform, some IoT gateway, or where these data are used to make some operations, to mine some informations, to predict something, and it is shown to some computer system as a in the form of dashboard or some mobile applications. So here, from here, IoT devices to check the things obtained from this IoT devices, the information IoT devices. There is a very big thing which comes between this dashboard and IoTs, which is IoT cloud platform, where all these data are stored and analyzed for further applications. So if we see IoT with the cloud computing, uh, the IoT, the data collection and sensing in here in IoT devices like sensors, actuators, or any smart devices which collects data from the physical world. These data can monitor environmental condition, track assets, measure performance, and multiple things. So by using all such kind of things, these IoT devices generates a large volume of data. And when we associate with the cloud computing, then it provides the necessary infrastructure and storage capability to store, to process, and to manage this data very efficiently. So this is also a very important benefit of this cloud computing, that we can get any data of any internet of thing to the cloud anytime. So by having this cloud service, it is very much easier now that we have to only sense data and send to the cloud. It is not very much required to store data first, then to collect data in some hard disk, and then just put on some central device one by one. Now it is not very much required. It is simply the IoT devices are now connected to the internet. They just send their data to the cloud where it is processed. So similarly, the data processing is done, and having the cloud computing, we can also scale our IoT devices. Like if we think about the IoT devices, by removing cloud computing, then we cannot think very much IoT devices nowadays, because to collect the data, to analyze those data, we will collect all these data from these IoT devices one by one, and then we will store at a central place, then we will analyze. So these all are very complex procedure. But if we have some cloud system which is connected with the internet, then we may scale our IoT setup to millions of devices, where the data is now, we do not have to worry about how we will collect data, how we will analyze data. It will automatically go to the server or the cloud service provider, where it will be processed. So all these are in reference to that data storage. Now we can also do the real time monitoring and control by having the cloud computing, secure and authentication. Now IoT devices are very susceptible to security vulnerabilities, which makes the device which makes the device authentication and encryption critical. So it is very much necessary that the IoT devices which are integrated should be authenticated, and its data should be encrypted. So the cloud service provider invests in robust security measures, which includes authentication, access control, encryption, which can enhance the overall security of IoT deployment. So all these are mainly the what are the benefits and what are the characteristics of having IoT with cloud computing, and how and why it is very much necessary to integrate the cloud computing with the IoT. In today's world, we I don't think we can even imagine the IoT without the cloud computing or without the cloud service providers, because the main issue is we have to we have a common place where the data will should continuously come and process. We cannot do this process manually or with the intervention of any human being. It should be done in a automatic manner. Then the this world with the internet of thing will be very effective, and it will be feasible to use such a millions of IoT devices. Now, so this was about the cloud computing and with the internet of things. Next we will see about the edge computing. So what this edge computing is, it is a distributed computing paradigm. Distributed computing, firstly the thing comes here. The distributed computing means the computation is now distributed over the different devices. It is not centralized at any channel, not centralized at any server. Instead, it is distributed over the different devices where the computation, where the data are now distributed. Now load is distributed. So the edge computing, it is a distributed computing paradigm that brings data processing and computation closer to the data source, which is often referred as a edge of the network. And this approach is contrast to traditional centralized cloud computing, where data processing occurs in the data centers located at a distance from the devices or sensors generating data. So see here, two different concepts you will see. At a one place, we are saying that cloud computing is very good and it should be used in each aspects. And now we are saying that there is a edge computing which do the computations in a distributed form, and it is very contrast to the traditional centralized computing services. See here, two different things are given, but these two different things have their own benefits, and we cannot say that we should use only this but not this, or only edge cloud but not edge, or only edge but not cloud. No, we cannot say this. Both the services, both the technology have their own importance, and based on importance at a different situation. So based on our situation, based on our requirement, we may use any of these services. So now we will see what this edge computing is, and in what scenario it is used, when it is used, and when it is beneficial to the edge computing. So here in this picture you will see that there are multiple internet of things, the multiple IoT devices are there, and on the top there is a cloud or data center, where such the data generated by this internet of things is directly going to cloud, but there is some edge devices in between them. So what they are doing here, we will get know about this in later slides. So see, first, what are the characteristics of edge computing, or we can simply know that what edge computing is. Instead of mainly focusing on the characteristics, we will try to grasp that what this technology, what this edge computing is. So here it is proximity to data center. So edge computing places computing resources, in which includes servers, storage, and network, closer to the devices where data is generated, typically near or within the device or sensor themselves. So see what happens nowadays. There are multiple devices like Raspberry Pi, Arduino, and different devices which have the capability to make computations or to make storage of data. So whenever a sensor collect data, it just store the data on that, on those devices. So here in edge computing, we may do some small computations on these devices on the data collected by such sensors. For an example, if we see like our smartwatch, which is connected to our mobile. So if some kind of processing on the data which is collected by our smartwatch is to be done, then that can be done by our mobile phone, because it has a sufficient computation power, but it cannot do very much high complex computation. So for that, it has to send those data on a cloud, where it will get calculated, where it will be analyzed. Next is low latency and real time processing. So by having the edge computing, the latency incurred during the computation will be less. So with this edge computing, there the latency will be less, and also the processing can be done in a real time environment as compared to cloud services, because in a cloud computing, the data goes to server and then compute, and then the result is written back. So it is not necessary that cloud computing will give a real time processing or will give a real time result, but edge computing for sure will give us the real time processing, because the computing devices are now near to the data generating devices or data generating IoT devices, which will make small computations within due time and provide the result. Also, the bandwidth optimization is reduced if we use edge computing. See, if we are sending some data from the IoT devices to the cloud, then there is a requirement of high bandwidth. But if we want to reduce it, then we can do one thing, that for us before sending the data to a cloud server, we may perform some smaller computation on the edge devices, and then remaining thing or remaining for the remaining operation, we may send those data to a cloud server. So in this way, the bandwidth required for this will be reduced. So in a total cloud-based system and a system also having some edge computing, then in the both things there will be much difference in terms of latency, in terms of processing, in terms of bandwidth optimization. So next is privacy and data localization. So as we can simply imagine, if my data is processing at a place where it is getting generated, then that would be more secure. Or if the data is analyzed at a central server from which is located very far from the data generated device, would that be much secure? No. So here the edge computing provides more privacy to the data, because the data is now analyzed near to the data generating device. But in cloud computing, the data is data is analyzed at a cloud. There is a different thing, that cloud service also provides some secure services, but they provide those services at the cloud. But what happens if somebody hacks my data during the transmission from the IoT device to cloud? So in between, there may be anything, there may be any kind of attack on thing. So it will also reduce the chances of such kind of attacks, such kind of privacy issue. Reliability and redundancy. We see in edge computing, the edge computing improves the reliability by providing local processing capabilities even when the network connection to the cloud is disrupted. So see, if we are totally dependent on the cloud and we are sending our data to the cloud for further processing, and in between, if some network error happens, or if there is a technical error happens, and due to this the data is not able to send from the IoT devices to the cloud, then it will hamper the services very much. But now here in edge computing, we can do computation in offline mode also. It is now we can if some services are now independent of the network. So instead of not having internet connection, we can also perform the computation. So due to this, it also increases the reliability. So edge computing also increases this reliability on it. And also it can be redundant, because many different edge devices or edge nodes can be deployed to make solution for any kind of fault tolerance. So if any edge devices is not able to perform any operation, then that can be done on another edge computing devices. So in this way, it also by making the redundancy of this edge devices or edge nodes, the edge computing performs well. So in terms of scalability, it can be scaled horizontally by adding more edge devices as needed to accommodate growing workload and data sources. So we can enhance our we can increase our edge nodes to increase the limit of the computation. So if we are making our entire system as like, it will now increase its computation, but also will provide more benefits. Then in that case, we can easily scalable our system through the edge computing. So now the simple use case we can see, like industrial IoT, autonomous vehicle, uh, retail, smart cities, and telecommunications. So all these are very good use cases of edge computing. If we take an example of autonomous vehicle, where real time processing, real time service is required. So here we cannot be totally dependent on the cloud services, because it takes at least some time to process our information, because it includes transfer of data from IoT devices to cloud, computation on those data, and then from retransmission of data from cloud to IoT devices. So these entire cycle takes little bit more time if we compared with the edge computing, where data do not transfer to any far nodes. It is sent to some edge devices, where computation takes place in a very instant manner, and its result is transferred to some actuators. So similarly, if we see in smart cities or industrial IoT, the edge computing keeps its a very vital role for the smooth and efficient processing. So now, if we see the edge computing with the IoT. So in IoT devices, sensors, camera, and multiple connected machineries collects vast amount of data from the physical world. And edge devices, which we also know this as edge devices as the edge node or gateway, which are placed near the IoT devices at the edge of the network. They process and filter the data locally before sending to centralized cloud. So this local processing reduces latency and conserves bandwidth. So this is all. This is the same as I have told you about the edge computing, but it is in perspective of Internet of Thing. Like if we are specifically using the edge computing for the IoT devices, what kind of benefits we will get, and in that manner the processing of the IoT data will be take place at the S devices. The latency will be reduced. The offline operations are possible. The bandwidth optimization will be occur. So these were the benefits of having IoT with the edge computing. The smart buildings, industrial IoT, smart agricultures, all these are the use case we can take again here. Now next we will see. Okay, I think we should take a break for 5 to 10 minutes, then we will start again.
Okay.
Mr. Bamay.
Yes. Yes, please.
So we may now take a maybe break for the 5 minutes,
Yes.
and then we will start again.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ini saya close dulu Pak atau gimana Pak? Stop recordingnya dulu Pak.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Saya stop dulu ya Pak.
Mhm.